3 reasons why trying to heal perfectly from your chronic pain or illness will fail you. Hi, everyone. How is your healing going? For many of us, our chronic pain or illness partly developed because we got caught in this coping mechanism of perfectionism. And then we come to the healing work being perfectionists, being intense, putting pressure on ourselves, being self-critical, being so rigid in the way we function. And so we apply all these ways of coping to the work. And essentially, when we try to heal being perfect, making our healing perfect, it's not going to work. It's going to fail us. We cannot heal using the same coping mechanisms that got us into having chronic pain or symptoms in the first place. Again, as I say that, some people will feel that they're to blame for this. You're not to blame for your perfectionism. The adversity you faced in the past, our really competitive capitalistic society breeds perfectionists. So you're not to blame for it, but we are responsible for starting to shift things. So if you've been doing this healing for a while and you watch this video and you relate to how you're going about your healing, and it really seems like it's a perfectionistic kind of mentality, we need to shift that. We need to approach healing in a different way. And so in this video, I'm going to explain 3 reasons why trying to heal perfectly is going to fail you. Let's dive into it. Number 1, expectations and pressure. Ooh, expectations. Expectations are a tricky one because you're engaging in this work because you want to heal. You really have like the end goal in mind. You want to be pain or symptom free. And I respect that. I get that. When I was in chronic pain, I wanted to heal as well. That was the goal. But people have such high expectations of how they think their healing's going to go. And then they put immense amount of pressure on themselves. For example, people listen to a success story on some channel. And on that success story, the person explained that they healed in 2 months and they lay out exactly what they did. They did somatic tracking twice a day. They processed their emotions, whether it's through journaling or doing some type of somatic practice for emotions. They regulated their nervous system. They reduced their perfectionism. And in your mind, you're like, okay, that's the deadline. They did it in 2 months. I can do it in 2 months. Or if you're a perfectionist, you want to even one-up the person and you're like, I'm going to do it in a month and a half. But people set this deadline of I'm going to heal in this amount of time. And then what happens is their healing doesn't go as planned. Every time they have a symptom increase or they have a symptom flare take place, it's a reminder that they're not doing good enough, that it's not going as expected, and as a result, they're failing them, and then they get more dysregulated. Essentially, these expectations lead to high pressure. We have all this pressure of our healing looking a certain way. And so we really want to be cautious with this because expectations and pressure are really going to sink you quick. So my suggestion here, and you're going to have to remind yourself of this consistently, is to not set a healing deadline. Healing, I always tell people, it's an adventure. And an adventure is different than a journey. You think about a journey. With a journey, say you're driving somewhere for a road trip. You have point A, your house, and you have point B, where you're having your vacation. This is a journey. We know point A, we know point B. This is what we're doing. But healing, it's not really a journey. We have an idea of point B, like we want to be symptom free, but it is an adventure. We don't exactly know how it's going to turn out. We don't know how it's going to unfold. We don't know what we're going to discover along the way. My healing, it was an adventure. I learned things along the way, and I had to be flexible with this. So you don't want to set this deadline of when you need to heal by and exactly what your healing needs to look like. By not doing that, you naturally take the pressure and expectation off. The second thing I really do not recommend is comparing your healing to other people's. Your nervous system developed independently and differently than everyone else's nervous system. For better or worse, we all have experiences, we all have unique biology, and we're coming to that work different than everyone else who's done it before. And so you don't want to compare your healing to any success story that's out there. Success stories are great for creating hope, but if you start to compare yourself of like, I've been doing this for 8 months and I only see 10% reduction, this isn't good enough. Other people have done this in 2 weeks. What's wrong with me? Comparison, it really is going to put you into a bad place where you're putting the pressure on yourself more and more. Now, the last thing I would suggest doing in terms of reducing expectation and pressure is really slow it down. Your spirit animal here should be the sloth. I love sloths, like baby sloths. They're so cute. They're adorable. They're constantly in parasympathetic. They're just hanging out, flowing through their day, moseying. And that's what we want to approach this healing like. If you want to reduce the pressure, slow it down. Instead of doing 10 somatic trackings a day, which is way too much, by the way, do 1 or 2, sprinkle them in, and just slow it down. Be the sloth. Do a little bit at a time. This is not a race. This is an adventure, as I've said, and you don't know where you're going. Number 2, rigid healing work. Ooh, rigidity. Perfectionists, we live in a very structured, rigid world. Myself included, if I've gotten better with this, but several years ago, my calendar, I would have it broken down into 15-minute blocks. I'm going to do this activity for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to do this piece of work, and then I'm going to record this video for half an hour, no longer. It needs to be done by then. We're very rigid. And people approach the healing work in the same way. And this is the second reason why trying to heal perfectly is going to fail you, is healing can't be done in this very rigid formula. Like, it's not going to take place like that. I get comments like that all the time of like, how many times do I do somatic tracking? Or how many minutes do I do emotional work a day? I can give suggestions. Sure, if you're only doing emotional work once every 2 weeks, we got to up the ante. We got to like do a little bit more. If you're only doing somatic tracking once a week, it's not probably going to be enough to heal. So there is some, structure here, but it's not an exact formula. And you trying to like meticulously plan out what your healing day needs to look like every single day of the week, it's not going to work. And the main reason it's not going to work is your nervous system, it's going to need something different day to day, and it's going to need something different at different points in your healing. There were points when I was recovering from my chronic pain that I needed more breath work. There was points when I needed more embodiment work with pain or symptoms. There was points I needed more emotional work. And when we're rigid, you're not going to provide your nervous system, your brain, what you need to feel safe and connected each day. And that's what we're going for. The cure for chronic pain, chronic symptoms is safety. Danger, level of danger, sensitizes your system or produces chronic pain or symptoms. So what we're going for is safety. But we're never going to feel safe and connected if we're really rigid in the way we're going about the healing work. So what we're going for here and what you want to shift to is having a flexibility and a fluidity. Flexible and fluid, that's what we're going for. And so you can have some ideas of what you want to do each week, what's important for you, but really go based off how you're feeling. If you're feeling a high level of anxiety when you wake up in the morning, sure, you might need some more nervous system regulation that day, and you might need some emotional work on fear. If you wake up and you're feeling sadness and shame, focus there. If you wake up and your symptoms are coming up, great time to do some somatic tracking. And if you notice yourself being perfectionistic, rigid about your healing work, we want to reduce the perfectionism. We want to make ourselves more flexible and fluid. So just don't make it super rigid. In doing this, you will actually heal quicker. I promise you. And finally, number 3, self-criticism. If you are trying to heal perfectly, what's going to happen is you're going to become very judgmental and critical of yourself. This happens so often. Kind of goes hand in hand with expectations and pressure. People have this expectation of what their healing needs to look like, and their anxiety gets worse one day, or their pain or symptom gets worse one day, and it's not turning out the way they expect. And so as the result, they start to criticize themselves. They're not doing something right. And here's the reality. You may not be, but that's okay. Like I said, this is an adventure and we don't exactly know where we're going. And so we don't need to be criticizing our progress day by day. Here's the thing about healing. We expect it to just go, whoo, just down, high symptom intensity, low symptom intensity, and you're just going down in a nice fluid way. That's not it. This is like a ping pong. You're all over the place. Some days you're ahead, some days you're behind. Some days you have flares, some days it's like your symptoms don't exist anymore. And that's great. That's what it's supposed to look like. Your healing is messy. And if you're criticizing yourself every time your healing is not meeting your expectations, it's going to make you feel more dysregulated and actually worsen things. And so do the healing, but do it in this compassionate way. Have true love and care for yourself. That's why we want to heal. We heal by bringing such kindness to ourselves. That's what creates safety. And so engage in the work in this fluid, relaxed way. Take the pressure off. Don't set a deadline. And do things to genuinely care for your nervous system. Do the practices to genuinely bring kindness to yourself. That's what we're going for here. So if you notice yourself getting critical about your healing or your recent flare or where you're at emotionally, just remember healing happens when we bring true self-kindness and love to ourselves. And that's what we need to go for. So I hope this video was helpful in explaining why trying to heal perfectly is going to fail you. If you've related to any of these 3 reasons I talked about in this video, practice making these subtle shifts. We need to overall reduce perfectionism in our lives to heal, but we also need to reduce trying to heal perfectly. And by doing that, we actually heal quicker. I know perfectionists love that. We love efficiency. So you will heal quicker if you try to not heal perfectly. So please put your questions or comments down below. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.